Krishna Krishna Hare 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 Rama Hare Rama Rama Hare Hare Krishna Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Krishna Krishna Hare 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 Rama Hare Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada ki, Srila Prabhupada ki, Shri Nikai, Shri Shri Gauri Tai Ki Jai, Shri Shri Panchatattva Ki, Shri Shri Radha Madhava Ki Jai, Gaura Premanandi. All glorious to the assembled devotees. All glorious to the assembled devotees. All glorious to the assembled devotees. Kuntaraj Srimad Bhagavatam Ki Jai. Glorious to Shri Guru and Shri Gaura. Namo Vishnu Vaya Krishna Vistaya Vitale. Srimate Bhakti Vedanta Swami Namo. Namaste Saraswati Devi. Never satious and Astacharya Shatara. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya.
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 Hare Krishna. Oh. We'll be back in Makati, Radha Madhava Mandir. Thank you for accommodating us and inviting us here. And we are here, I think, we're here till Saturday morning, and then we go to Kalasham for a few days. Then we come back, I'm not sure when, Sunday, Monday, I'm not sure. And then we stay for a few days, then we go to Cebu, and we're there for a few days. And then we come back for the Sunday program here, I believe. What time is the Sunday program? 11 till 2. So the class is like 12? Huh?
1 p.m.
Oh, 1 p.m. So we should be back for the class. Although we can't guarantee that. It depends on the mercy of Cebu Airlines, I guess. I know that Sridham Prabhu and Janardhan Maharaj took the flight, some other brothers also, yesterday, and their flight was delayed for 3 hours. There was a burst tire, it took them 3 hours to fix the tire. Pretty slow, but what to do. So if Krishna wills, we'll be here for the class from, not this week, the week after. Then we leave, we're leaving for Malaysia on early morning of Tuesday, very, very early. And then we'll be in Malaysia for more or less, same like here, 18, 19 days. And then we're flying to India, to Mayapur. And this year marks the special event of 150-year anniversary of the appearance of Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Goswami Maharaj. So nice if you could do something nice here for honoring him. 150th anniversary in this year, February. And it's also, of course, Nityananda's appearance day is shortly after we arrive. It's also the 20th anniversary of the installation of Panchatattva in Mayapur. So you have Panchatattva days here, and they're related to that installation, I believe. One of the sets of Panchatattva, which Hare Krishna, good to see you. One of the sets of Panchatattva, there were actually, many sets were there made, replicas of the Panchatattva in Mayapur, and sent to different places, especially those members who donated towards the expenses or the cost of the installation of the full Panchatattva in Mayapur. And so we are an extension here of Mayapur, Radha Madhava and Panchatattva. Different size, of course, but we don't have the Astasakis here. But other than that, the Radha Madhava and Panchatattva. And they'll be moving in 2026 in Mayapur, I think, it's supposed to. Let's see. things have been delayed, and hopefully they're moving 2026 to their new temple. Maybe Radha Madhava and Panchatattva here will also move to their new temple in 2026. It would be nice, let's see. Even if it's not the full temple, at least maybe to move there in some temporary arrangement, maybe, but it would be nice. Let's see. And then of course there's Gopurnima. And it's also the interesting, in one temple in Delhi I've been involved in to some extent, is a temple called Rohini, in a suburb called Rohini. They're opening the temple also during this period of time, so we'll hopefully be there for that opening of the temple, installation of deities also. And like that, quite a busy period. Then we go back to France at the beginning of April. All the plans. And man proposes and God disposes. We make our plans, but nothing can happen without the will of the Lord. And in one sense, that's what our philosophy is focused on. Everything ultimately is controlled or owned, depends upon the Supreme Personality of God. To see everything that happens or has happened in relationship with Him, and not separate. So it's Krishna consciousness, state of consciousness. So we're reading from Srimad Bhagavatam, and I don't know what the program is the rest of the day. So there's nothing scheduled today, is there? Pardon? There's nothing scheduled today, is there? There's no program, no Harinam, nothing?
Harinam will be tomorrow.
Tomorrow, and then
Today is just
Kalawokan on Friday, I think. Today I think nothing because, well, Krishna's very, let's say, whatever happens, he knows what is best. So somehow or another, the last few nights we've not been sleeping. Kind of one unusual event. But not sleeping in the day either. So our body is getting a little tired. And Mahananda also didn't sleep last night, maybe short 15 minutes. So like that we had to lay a little bit more than him, maybe an hour. And did you sleep last night? Yes. Ekanath's been sleeping very well. He's been sleeping for us. You've been doing the sleeping, and we're not sleeping. We may have to take a little rest later on, so bear that in mind after class. I may not be available for some time. And Hare Krishna, Hare Bol. So we're going to read the Bhagavatam now if we can, if Krishna allows us. And we'll try to stay awake. If you have, in England we call it a water pistol. You know what a water pistol is? You know a pistol? Bang, a gun. It's a water gun. And sometimes we have one available during the class. And Indravali will sit there and she'll squirt the water at you if you're sleeping. If you fall asleep, she'll squirt the water on your face. She's so enthusiastic she'd even squirt it on me. Be careful, be warned. If you suddenly hear, don't get upset. It's to put the fire out. The fire brigade. Here we go, and I don't know what verse we go on. It's the gopis. My goodness, this is a very light subject matter. Are you actually reading from this section? Pardon?
10, 21, 3.
I'm sure this is an easy subject for all the devotees here in Makati. Whoops. The gopis glorify Krishna's flute. Are you ready? I know if this is if you're expecting me to, I did watch the videos of Indradunnaman, so I don't have anything already to present, and I don't have much references. I don't think I have any to Krishna's flute. Maybe a little bit. Is text number 2 or 3? 3. Oh, that's really good because there's no purport. So, are you ready? Hare Krishna. Hare Bol. Where are you from?
I came from La Union.
Where from?
From La Union.
Oh.
North.
Oh, there you go. There you go. And are you also from the north, both of you? Also?
No, Maharaj. My son is working here in Manila.
Your son? Wonderful. So you came down to see your son, and you also came for the temple. Wonderful. Whereabouts in La Union do you live? Which town?
Our town is Luna. Our province is La Union.
Luna. I've seen it on the map. Nice. So today we're reading text number 3. Is it on a board or some system is there? My word, they're high tech over here, aren't they? There we go. And Vajayka village, I've never seen such high tech in a temple anywhere in ISKCON. Nowhere. Such high advanced cameras and sound systems. They got the best of Bose, or Bose, how you pronounce it, this famous worldwide loudspeakers and amps and so on. They got the best of the run, top class. And the microphones also top class. Here the microphone looks a little antique, but it works. Not the microphone, the stand. Microphone stand. Otherwise, thank you for being here and inviting us and serving Prabhupada's mission here. Tad Vajjastriya Ashutya Venu Gitam Smarodayam Kaschit Paroksham Krishnasya Excuse me. Svasakibhyon Vavarnanayan Tad Rajastriya Ashutya Venu Gitang Marodayan Kaschit Paroksham Krishnasya Svasaki Bhyon Vavarnanam Tadvajastriya Ashutya Venu Gitang Marodayan Kaschit Paroksham Krishnasya Svasaki Bhyon Vavarnanayan Tadvajastriya Ashrutya Venu Gitam Smarodayam Kaschit Paroksham Krishnasya Svasakibhyon Vavarnayan Tadvrajasya Ashrutya Venugitam Smarodayam Kaschit Paraksham Krishnasya Tasakibhyo Ndubanayam
Tapraja Striya Ashrutya Venugitam Smarodayam Kaschit Paroksham Krishnasya
Kaschit Paroksham Krishnasya
Swasakibhyo Bhavanayam
Tasakibhyo Ndubanayam. Ladies.
Tad Brajasriya Asrutya Veno Gitan Smarodayam
Venugitam Smarodayam
Kaschit Paroksham Krishnasya
Kaschit Paroksham Krishnasya
Vasakibhyo Vavarnayam
Swasakibhyo
Bhavanayam. We'll go through the word for word. Tat. That.
That
Oh, wow, look who's here. Hari Bo. Hare Krishna. Right. Vrajastriyaha.
Rajastriyaha
The ladies
The ladies
in the cowherd village.
in the Kailash village
Ashutya.
Ashrutya
Hearing.
hearing
Venugitam.
Venugitam
The song of the flute.
the song of the fruit
Smara Udayam.
Sarapudayam
Which gives rise
which give rise
to the influence of Cupid.
to the influence of Cupid.
Kashchit.
Kaschit
Some of them.
some of them
Paroksham.
Aroksha
Privately.
privately
Krishnasya.
Krishnasya
About Krishna.
about Krishna
Swasakibhyaha.
Swasakibhyaha
To their intimate companions.
to their intimate companion
Anvavarnayan.
Anbhavaramayan
Described.
described.
When the young ladies in the cowherd village of Raj heard the song of Krishna's flute, which arouses the influence of Cupid, some of them privately began describing Krishna's qualities to their intimate friends. So this is one of the, prominent aspects of arousing loving emotions towards Krishna is the sound of his flute. Particularly this particular note or this particular flute, which Krishna is vibrating here, it evokes what appear to be lusty desires in the gopis. They're actually, they're kamarupa, they're a little different than the kama. Kama means lust. In the material world, pretty much everyone is controlled by lust. Of every species of life, to a certain extent, in certain circumstances for sure, are conquered by lust. Lust is not only applicable to a sexual interaction. In the material world, lust can be taken on a much broader level, and it's based upon fulfilling one's own self-centered desires. One could have a lust for food, a lust, mostly we use it in terms of the opposite sex, or the sex life itself. But it could be for other things. One lust for fame and name. The word hanker could also be related. You don't usually say lust for mundane objects, but it's a principle of hankering for those items of what we think will be sense gratification. But that's material lust is based upon pleasing myself. Now the lust which may awaken in the hearts of the gopis, for instance, when they hear Cupid, as mentioned Cupid here, when Cupid's arrow, although it's not really Cupid's arrow either, because it's an eternal constitution state which they're in, but for the sake of understanding, when they're struck like that, whatever the stimulus for kama rupa, an intimate loving relationship with Krishna is, whatever the causes may be, but it awakens this focus of the gopis, all the devotees, not just the gopis, everyone, including the stones and the birds and the beasts, everybody. They develop this infatuation, this madness. I must get. What do they want to get? Well, you could say they want to get Krishna, but they really, their whole focus is on Krishna. There's nothing about their own sense gratification. This is the spontaneous nature of a pure devotee. They're always in camera. They're always lusting. It's pure, completely pure. Lusting for the opportunity to serve Krishna, to see him, to embrace him in the case of the gopis, for kissing Krishna, and Krishna kissing them, etc. But it's mainly they just see themselves as objects of Krishna's pleasure. They're hankering for Krishna to enjoy them. There's not an iota of desire, I want to enjoy. Although it may appear from the mundane perspective, it's the same thing that boys and girls or people in this world are more or less controlled by. So yes, the pure devotees are controlled also by kama rupa, the pure form of kama. The pure form of kama is love for Krishna, and consequently Krishna's love for the devotee is based upon pure love, the desire to fulfill the complete desires of Krishna, to fulfill his desires for loving exchanges to the max. So this is the difference. In the material world, we tend to want to fulfill our own desires, even when we hear the flute, even sometimes in kirtan or anything come to that. Our motivation is really focused on pleasing ourselves. Although it may be, a magical trick to turn our attention to Krishna, but in many cases it's really focused on what I like, what pleases me, etc., not so much what Krishna likes. Pure devotee just acts according to the will of Krishna. His own will is simply offered for the service of Krishna. So Krishna's flute is one of, if not the prominent, maybe the prominent of Krishna's Tvadiya, his paraphernalia, his devotees. Maybe it's the most prominent to attract the minds of the conditioned souls. The flute is, even materially speaking, the flute is a very unique instrument. It's one, maybe the simplest of all instruments. It's very simple in one sense. They make more complicated, but traditionally the flute is made of bamboo and it's extremely simple and hollow in the middle. And they make some holes and then they play it as a flute. Very simple, beautiful sound, a sound which just captivates the mind, a sound which takes one into another world. Even the mundane flute. I remember one time I saw an advertisement. There's a brand of flute called Yamaha. It's from Japan, I believe. Yamaha. And the advertisement, they're advertising their flutes in London somewhere, on a billboard. I haven't seen that advertisement ever again, but this billboard said, if I can get it right, the sound of eternity. Yamaha flutes. The sound of eternity. Now, where are they getting that from? Obviously, they're getting it from Bhagavatam or Padma Purana, somewhere where this Krishna's flute is described and its transcendental nature. Can someone turn that off? Oh, that was good. Thank you. No problem. I know all about it. Don't worry. It is the sound of eternity. Krishna's flute is the source of the Brahma Gayatri. Pretty much you could say the source of creation sound. The sound of Krishna's flute is simply perverted into this material world, or subdued in one sense in other spheres of the spiritual realm, like in Brahmajyoti or something. But everything is coming from Krishna and Krishna's flute also, the sound, to create the various relationship, the mood of various relationships. When a devotee hears Krishna's flute, he's captivated. The devotee is captivated by the sound. Mundane sounds may captivate us for a little while, but not like the sound of Krishna's flute, which captivates eternally and ever increasingly captivates. It never becomes dry. It's always in Krishna's lips. It doesn't become dry. He has different types of flutes for different purposes, but they all have the same effect. Krishna's flute is a very intimate associate of the Lord, always getting a chance to be basically kissed by Krishna. Placing that flute to his mouth. And the flute is very, very happy to be, more or less, you could say, kissed by Krishna. So, very special flute. Beautiful. The flute has a beautiful sound if played properly. And is one of the instruments which is recommended to accompany kirtan. Madanga, kartals and flute. Nothing else is really recommended. Although other things are there. Gongs. Gongs also recommended. Wampers are also within the category. But electric guitars, bongo drums, accordions, all these things are Western or from other places in the world. And they can be used, but they're not the predominant musical instruments used in kirtan, chanting. So we'll read the last little verse here. Carry on to the next one. Text number 4. Tad varnayitam harabda marantya krishna cheshtitam nashakam smaravegena nikshipta manaso nipa. Translation. The coward girls began to speak about Krishna. So it's evoked when they hear the flute. Let's take an example. Some of you may have children. Mahendra Prabhu, well, that's so nice to see you here this morning. Are you retired now, is that right? You're retired?
Yeah.
Retired or tired?
Oh.
I'm tired, I'm not retired. There's no rest for the wicked, even if you're exhausted. So you're partially retired, are you? Working somewhat? Not sure.
I'm being offered lucrative.
Being offered what?
Lucrative position.
Locative?
Yeah. In the government.
Oh. You're being offered a job, president of the country?
Department of Energy.
Allergy? Energy, not allergy.
No, energy.
Allergy. Energy. The Department of Energy. You're the Minister of Energy.
Yeah.
Oh, I need some energy. Can you give me some energy? Hare Krishna. Krishna's the boss, don't forget, of all. All energies belong to Krishna. Whether they're material or spiritual, everything belongs to Krishna. So nice to see you all. Hare Krishna. Hare Bo. Hare Krishna. What was your daughter's name, Hare? Pardon?
Radhika Gauri.
Your daughter's name, Radhika Gauri. What a beautiful name, Radhika. Radhika Gauri. Haribo, what you got there? Is that your breakfast? What's she got? Hare Krishna, everyone. Haribo. Jai at the back, who's there? Everyone's there. Wonderful. Hare Krishna. That's what they call when you're in an airplane, the thing you can escape. What do they call that? The pilot, if he wants to get, is a latch. He flies out. What's it called? In an airplane. The pilot has to. Maybe the plane's crashing or something. The pilot then flies. He can fly out the top of the plane. He presses button, escape latches. This area over here. There's a term. There's a word. I've forgotten what it's called. I see the devotees sit in the corner there like that, They can slip out the door without anyone's noticing any moment. And Rohini, what's your name now? What's it say? Bhakti? Radhika Raman, that's right, Radhika Raman. Yeah, in the right place there. A quick escape. Well, we hope you can tolerate and hang in there. So they begin to speak about Krishna. They're incited. Now, if you had a child, some of you have had children, when you see the child's sock, dirty sock, maybe even smelly, but that sock to the mother, what does it do? Even the smell of her child is attractive, What does it do to the mother when she sees the sock? Huh? What does it do? What does mother think when she sees her child's sock? Come on, you've got a baby daughter. Radhika Gauri. She may pick it up and smell it, even though others would like to probably kick it in the bin or something. But the mother picks it up and maybe puts it to her nose. It completely reminds her of her daughter or son. To her, it's like nectar. It's like it awakens her loving feelings towards her child. It's an ordinary cotton sock or something. So what they speak of the beauty of Krishna's flute. There's no sound comparable. Everything, the Mahamantra, everything is emanating from that sound of Krishna's flute. It's described that Krishna's flute in this material world is the Sankirtan, that the Harinam Sankirtan is the manifestation of that sound of the flute in our world that we're living in. So it's the sweetest of all sound. It is the topmost sound, Krishna's flute. Very unique position Krishna's flute has, which is not the direct subject matter here. The subject matter here is the glorification of that flute. And why? Because many reasons. It stimulates ecstatic love in others. Now that makes it very elevated to start with. It's like a devotee. If a devotee stimulates remembrance of Krishna in your heart, they're very great. That's the perfection of your life, to awaken remembrance of Krishna in your heart and in the hearts of others. That's what preaching is all about, to remind others of Krishna. From that point of view, it stimulates remembrance or love for Krishna in other people's hearts. Another point, the flute itself is bringing so much satisfaction to Krishna. Inseparable almost. The flute's always with Krishna. The flute's always with him. If it's not on his lips, it's tucked in his belt. He's always got his flute. It never leaves Krishna. The flute's always there practically. And it's regularly being, you could say, kissed by Krishna. Krishna's lips. It's getting the nectar of Krishna's lips almost constantly, in one sense. Which is, hankering aspiration of all devotees, especially those in Madhurya Ras, is to get the kiss, Krishna's kiss. The flute's getting it all the time. What has that flute done, sometimes we hear, to deserve this? What has that bamboo flute done to deserve this? It's a bamboo flute. He has other flutes made of jewels and other materials, metals. But the bamboo flute is practically his favorite flute. What has it done? It has never studied, never performed much austerity. It didn't do any practical devotional service. Yet it's ended up like this, as permanent, eternally serving Krishna in this role to please him. So that's the secret. It's not so much. One time Ramanujacharya demonstrated to his disciples what does it really mean? We're studying, we're chanting, but what does it mean? To be fully surrendered. And he gave the example that after they asked him these questions, he said it means surrender, complete surrender. But they couldn't really grasp it fully. One man who was practically blind, complete faith and surrender. A blind man came, and when he heard his Ramanuja, he just fell to the ground with tears in his eyes, grasping his feet. And they can understand this man's completely surrendered. It's just nothing else. It's the only thing. There's nothing else in the devotee's life. So when a stimulus comes, if there is even a trace, we see the rasa dance, for instance, which will be coming up soon, I think. In the rasa dance, some gopis were held back. They heard the sound of Krishna's flute, and they wanted to leave their family, their homes, and everything, and rush to the source of that sound. It's magnetic to a devotee. It's not magnetic to a non-devotee. They're attracted to mundane sounds. But for a devotee, the transcendental sound of Krishna's flute is like an inescapable magnet. You can't just no choice. There's no holding back. However, some of the gopis were held back, apparently by their family, who didn't let them go in the middle of the night to join Krishna in the forest. But they weren't really held back by their family. They were held back because of identification with the family. It's the same thing with Maya, which keeps us from our attraction from Krishna in one sense. Well, it's Maya, Prabhu, what can I do? We say, but it's not. It's the fact that we're still attached to Maya. We still have some affection for Maya, some attraction for Maya. And although there may be some attraction towards Krishna, we're not willing to go the full way. We mix it, and we have a bit of Krishna, a bit of Maya, a bit for me and a bit for Krishna. It's a mixed situation. But that does not evoke the love of Godhead in its full extent by any means, or even to its pure extent within our heart. It may, to some extent, attract our attention, just like a fantastic kirtan with our favorite kirtan leaders singing and others there, may attract our attention, but it's not a constant factor. It may not be a correct attraction in it at all in some cases. But even if it is, it's not a constant one, because it's depending upon a particular circumstance which may come and go. Whereas for a pure devotee, well, you could say that about the flute in one sense, but it's not in another sense, because that attraction towards the flute is a permanent feature of a pure devotee of the Lord. Now, it's not that the devotee wants the flute to play, unless you're Radharani. We're not. Everyone else is attracted. Why? Because they want to surrender. They want to go and offer themselves to Krishna. It evokes that mood within their heart. So this is the, you can say, not just a stimulus for love of Godhead. It is indeed. It's not just the most wonderful sound. It's not just something which it's the perfection in a sense. It awakens the perfection, or it awakens our very being itself to be what we really are. And that's the nature of a devotee of the Lord. He's trying to awaken within all of us this mood of wanting to rush to Krishna. But unfortunately, like some of the gopis, we still have some material identification. They thought that I am married, I have children. Although they went to just throw it away, they still identified with it. So they were held back. And they were feeling so, let's say, you can imagine how they were feeling. They were feeling absolutely the pain was unbearable of not being able to go to join Krishna. And it said that they gave up their bodies. What it means is they gave up entirely any mentality of identifying themselves with the body or with family members, etc. They gave up that body and they completely identified themselves as the maidservants of the Lord, eternal maidservants of Krishna and nobody else. So there's another aspect of Krishna conscious movement to bring us to that stage of understanding that Krishna at that stage also belongs to the devotee, but at the stage of practice that we belong to Krishna. I'm only existing for Krishna's pleasure, just like the flute. The flute simply is existing, although it may appear to have its own enjoyment, but it actually exists only for the pleasure of Krishna. And every pure devotee, at least those in a personal relationship with the God, those who have reached perfection, they all have this. This is one common thing between all of them. They simply consider their existence is only wholly and solely for the pleasure of Krishna. And that's bhakti, that's real devotion. And we're in a mixed stage, whatever form, Kama Mishra Bhakti, Jnana Mishra Bhakti, etc., a mixed stage of service towards Krishna. And we're not spontaneously, maybe in some times, some places, some circumstance, but otherwise we're not constantly spontaneously attracted towards what it means, total surrender to Krishna, existing only for Krishna's pleasure. We're practicing that, let's say, not even a psychology which infers a kind of a nature of a person which is not necessarily the person themselves, it's just a covering. But in the case of the spiritual realm, that reaction is actually the nature of the soul themselves. It's not something related to the soul, it is the soul. The living entity by nature is completely attracted towards Krishna, who is all attractive. But when we're covered, we don't appreciate that aspect of the absolute truth. Sometimes we don't even notice it or reject it, the beauty of the deity, for instance. We may not even notice it. Or we may not see it beautiful. Prabhupada said you don't see that form of the Lord as beautiful because you see it as a stone or wood, because you're stone. Your heart is like a stone. If we're seeing through stone, you'll see stone. If you see through blue lens, you'll see blue. So when we're looking through lusty lenses, we cannot appreciate the real nature of Kamarupa, or the real nature of love of God, or what to speak of the object of that love of God. We can't appreciate it at all. Unless it's going to satisfy my senses, it doesn't come into the picture. People are so selfish, self-centered in this material world. We're all coming in we're in the same bracket in one sense. The only difference is we're recognizing that is not our real position, and we're recognizing that we should be serving Krishna. That He's the supreme person, and we're His servants. And we're practicing. We're trying to do it. When we're associating with devotees, we're trying to do it. And we've connected with somebody who is a pure devotee of the Lord. These are some, visible differences between the different persons, those who are serving themselves and those who are trying to serve Krishna. They may be doing the same thing, but the result is completely different, and the attitude is completely different. Anyway, this is just some little things there about the attraction, or the effects, let's say, of the attractiveness of Krishna's flute, which captivates the whole universe. And we hear how even stones melt. The rivers start stopping or flowing backwards. Everything is stunned. The birds, everything's stunned by that sound. It just captures the attention of the devotees. The material person, Krishna's sound comes through in a perverted way, even in a material world. An expert flute player is really something extraordinary. Even from the material sound vibration is extraordinary sound, which can also capture the heart, but maybe not quite the same way as being captivated with Krishna's presence, but captivated in different ways to try to enjoy the sound. It's just like the most famous sitar player probably the world has ever known. What was his name? From India, sitar player. What was his name? Ravi Shankar. Thank you very much. His daughter and others in the family are also experts sitar players. And from the material point of view, it is definitely the flute expertly played, the sitar expertly played, are definitely, they can be seen as the most fine and beautiful sounds available to human beings. Such a beautiful sound, if played, and he was expert by relative terms, such expert player. People, thousands of people who have no spiritual inclination really, would just sit there listening to him simply play the sitar for hours. It just captivates the heart and creates a mode of nature which is so soothing to people or exciting to people, and is a very special instrument, that's for sure. And it evokes, you could say, materially positivity, very unique, very, very expert. And many people are attracted, and most of us were attracted also. If we had any glimpse or tinge of the mode of goodness, we were attracted. But when Prabhupada said, he was asked by one of the, for Srila Prabhupada, it's okay to listen to Ravi Shankar. Prabhupada said, that's Maya. Maya. Because we're trying to enjoy it. We're not using it. We're not thinking how this is serving Krishna. We're thinking how this is serving my mind and senses. It's a big difference. Although the sound is the same, it looks the same, the pure devotee is. It's like one time on the aeroplane, Prabhupada was traveling somewhere. And now you don't have this, but in about 40, 50 years ago, it was just coming in, especially on American Airlines. There would be a screen, like a big television screen. And there would only be one or two for the whole plane. They were big, so everyone could see them. And they'd have a movie on. And everyone had to see it and hear it. You couldn't turn it off. You had to sit there with this thing going on throughout the whole journey. Someone smoking behind you, if you happen to be the last seat in the non-smoking compartment. You're exposed to smoke at the back and a movie in front. And it loud, the speakers are on, you're going to have to hear it. Of course, this was a silent movie, so that wasn't so bad. But it was a Charlie Chaplin movie. Charlie Chaplin was a British comedian who was also world famous till this very day, if not the best, certainly one of the best natural comedians of our age, that's for sure, of our modern age. And Prabhupada was watching it. He was watching it and laughing. He's a born comedian, this guy. He did eventually get Prabhupada's Bhagavad Gita, by the way. He got Prabhupada's Gita. Anyway, it's a movie, and he's the star of the show. So Prabhupada's laughing and watching this movie. Devotees who were with Prabhupada didn't know what to do. We thought Prabhupada said this was Maya, but Prabhupada's watching it and he's laughing. What are we supposed to do? And because they wanted to watch it too, but they were trying to restrain themselves, trying to read the Gita, closing their eyes and trying not to see it, plugging their ears, trying not to hear it. Well, there was no sound; it was just music. See, his comedian was silent comedy. He just moved his lips and his moustache and his movements, and it was obvious what was going on. And he was expert comedian. And so Prabhupada was laughing. So eventually his servant went up to Prabhupada to ask, what should we do, Prabhupada? And we're confused, I thought this was Maya. And Prabhupada said, yes. But what type of Maya? Prabhupada said, this is Krishna, don't you see it? This is Hasya Ras. In the spiritual world, there are different relationships with Krishna, as there are in this world, positive, direct and indirect. Hasya Rasa is the supportative rasa, which supports the primary relationships with Krishna. So Prabhupada was seeing Krishna present there in the form of Hasya Ras. Although it was Charlie Chaplin, Prabhupada was just thinking, how humorous Krishna is. It's unbelievable. He's so funny. And Prabhupada is just seeing Krishna. He's not, look, he's seeing Charlie Chaplin, but he's seeing Krishna working through him. And how amazing Krishna's sense of humor is. Whereas we see it, we're sort of trying to enjoy it, and we're just laughing because we want to enjoy ourselves. Prabhupada is laughing in like holding Krishna's hand, they're laughing. A different thing. Consciousness. Not so much what it is, but the consciousness, our consciousness in relationship to whatever we're doing. So, like that. If an ordinary person can't hear Krishna's flute, but if they hear the reflection of that flute, they simply want to enjoy it. Or they want to free themselves from stress or something like that, which is not the point. When a pure devotee hears that flute, their mad, ecstatic, loving feelings towards Krishna just explode. They go mad in ecstatic love, thinking of Krishna, wanting to offer themselves for his pleasure. A little different. A world of difference, Prabhupada said, between iron and gold. It's like the difference between iron and gold. They're both metals, but they're metals of a completely different caliber. It looks they're metals. And you can paint something gold, but that doesn't make it gold. Real gold is real gold. You can't imitate it. Just because a pure devotee. There's a nice story in the Chaitanya Bhagavat of Haridas Thakur one time. And he was, traveling around preaching. But he came to this one village, and there was a rich man there, a merchant. And this rich man had this snake charmer. And he asked his snake charmer to sing songs about Krishna. The snake charmer was singing about the Kaliya serpent, Krishna's pastimes and so on. And the snakes were coming out of the bag, and they're dancing along with his music. He's singing music and playing music, and they're dancing. The cobras are all dancing like this, and it's very amazing. You see this in India quite often. They're all dancing, and they're completely under control. And many people gathered around watching and listening to the glorification of Krishna's pastimes and so on. And the snakes are all dancing like this. And so when Haridas Thakur came there, he heard the glorification of Krishna from the snake charmer. And he was remembering, Krishna's dancing on the Kaliya serpents. He just went into ecstatic, emotional, lost consciousness basically. He was rolling on the ground, and all ecstatic symptoms were manifesting. The snake charmer stopped. He was just stunned, and seeing Haridas Thakur like this, and the people all stood still, wondering what was going on here. And this went on for some time, and eventually Haridas came to normal or external consciousness, and he left the place and went on his journey. And the snake charmer started again, singing the glorias, playing whatever instruments were there to accompany it. And the one rather materialistic brahmana was in the audience, and he thought, what is this? This fellow, I know this fellow who just made a big display, which everyone's respecting him as if he's something important or something, which he's not. He said, hey, he's just born in a low-class family, and now he's putting on an artificial display, and these foolish people are taking it seriously. So I'm a Brahmin. Imagine what would happen if I did that. So the music was going on. He suddenly burst through the crowd, started rolling and crying and screaming and frothing and everything right there on the floor in front of everybody. Again, the snake charmer stopped his singing and everything. This fellow's rolling on the ground, and everyone stops and they're all looking. Oh, he's in ecstasy. Snake charmer picks up 2 big sticks and smashes the living daylights out of him. The poor fellow was screaming and running for his life. Mother! Mother! Save me! Boing. Time up. And the snake charmer had halfway gone. went back as if nothing happened and started playing his instruments and singing again. The people were stunned. They didn't know what on earth was going on here. One minute he just like stops and he's offering his respect and prayers to this person who seemed like low-class person by birth. And then a Brahmin comes in and he's bashing him with sticks. What's happening here? And then the snake charmer afterwards, after finishing everything, they asked the question, what is it we don't understand? He said, this fellow, this second one, is a complete false, he's a fraud. He's totally imitating, has no love of God whatsoever. He's just trying to enjoy his senses completely. He wants name and fame. That was Haridas in complete ecstasy. Complete ecstasy in love of Godhead. Looks the same, but totally different. So this stimulation or this attraction towards Krishna, the material world, everyone's attracted to his energies, but with themselves in the center. And even if they are somewhat devotional, we're trying to be a little devotional, we're still thinking of our own sense gratification. What is Krishna going to give me? What am I going to get out of this? Many times we hear devotees say that. What am I getting out of this? That means we haven't understood what we're here for. There's some piety going on, but there's no devotion. Devotional service means for Krishna's pleasure, not for mine. It's not an activity. It's a state of consciousness. And people generally don't understand that. They think it's an activity. What are you doing, Prabhu? Prabhu, oh, I'm doing devotional service. Well, it's kind of related. Darkness is related to light, but it's not the same thing. It's related. And it can eventually evolve, if we're fortunate, into actual devotion. But it's still all about me in the center. I like, I don't like. That's not at all devotional service. It can be related only. And it may help us to come to the real understanding. Devotional service means only that which pleases Krishna. Even in kirtan, much of the time it's all about what I like. In modern kirtan, even, who wrote that? Is it Bhaktisiddhanta Maharaj? Which means we're going back 100 years ago. This modern day kirtan is not the real kirtan of Mahaprabhu. Well, we can imagine 100 years ago and what we see now sometimes. And of course we're not judging it from what we see either, but it's certainly not quite, the same thing. Of course it depends on consciousness, but the externals will follow the consciousness also. Is it really for the pleasure of Krishna? It might be. We have to ask that question, or is it just because we like it? That's a good start, but it's not the end, it's the beginning. We shouldn't go deeper into that approach. But rather we have to associate with those who are really kirtankaras, those who are actually performing kirtan for Krishna's pleasure. And if we're lucky, fortunate, you may have a material motivation, but if we're fortunate to serve or hear in the association of those who have the real pure devotion, then transformation can take place. If we're fortunate. If we're going there to enjoy, if we like the musician or we like the musical instrument, Bhaktivinoda does describe this as the stage one. There are two general categorizations of kirtan. One of them is that you're attracted by the accompaniment, the externals, the instruments, the sound, mundane sound, but it's related to Krishna. Attracted to the person, you're attracted to the tune, attracted to the words, attracted to whatever it is. You're not actually attracted to Krishna. You're attracted. That's the first step. And if the devotee or the leaders, those performing kirtan, are pure in heart, even though we come with these mixed motives, one will become purified if one stays in that association. But if the leaders also have that intention of getting name and fame, or whatever it is, showing off how good they are, how handsome they are, or how flamboyant they are, or how whatever it is, expert with movements or something, then one will get no benefit spiritually, really, practically none. So it's a matter of one's attitude. That's why it's important to associate with those who have Krishna's, what will please Krishna as their attitude. And not what may be nice from the material point of view. And this is the difference. It may look the same, but it's a world of difference between the two. Everything Srila Prabhupada does and did and will do is wholly and solely for the pleasure of Krishna. There is not an iota of sense gratification. Devotional service is anyavilasata shunyam jnana kamajanavatam kulena krishnanashilam. It's completely devoid of any desire for sense gratification of any kind, any selfish motivation. When we say selfish, we mean materially selfish motivation. Completely devoid. It's simply anukulyena Krishna anushilam. Anukul means that which is pleasing to Krishna, favorable to Krishna. Anukulyena Krishna anushilam. And it's evoked by following in the footsteps practice. Anushilam can also be practice, cultivation. But particularly Anu refers to those who are in that state of pure devotion. Cultivating devotional service in their association, under their direction. Not imposing our conditioning on it, but submitting ourselves to such great souls who know how to please Krishna and engage us for Krishna's pleasure. Just like in daily worship, they engage us, and it's done according to their direction, not according to our whim. Because they know how to do it for Krishna's pleasure, and they engage us, although we have no realization, but they engage us in doing it the way that Krishna would be happy. Same thing with everything. Their only hope is to be in this mood of surrender. As they surrender unto me, I reward them accordingly, of course. But the mood of surrender to a pure devotee of the Lord who guides us, utilizes whatever our foolishness is, whatever our material attachments are, utilizes that, offers it to Krishna, and Krishna purifies us. Because although we may not have been thinking in that direction, the pure devotees offer it. Like a child doesn't know what is offering its father a piece of stone from the garden without no value whatsoever. The father will accept it because the child's offering it, and it's an offering from the child's love. Some degree of love is always there. So offered, and the father will accept. It doesn't just say, what's this rubbish, and throw it away. Not at all. Father encourages the child. So Krishna is very encouraging to everyone, even the neophyte stage, that this person has served my pure devotee. They're cooperating with my pure devotee. This person, this devotee who is serving my pure devotee, I'm going to give him my mercy because he's pleasing my dear devotee. This is the secret. So if we can somehow become attracted to the mercy of the pure devotee in the form of service, no matter what it is, even though we may still not be quite anukulya, we may not be anyavilas either, we still have material desires. But still there's some attraction there for the pure devotee. And anyone who does that, anyone who assists the pure devotee in any way, is a very fortunate soul. This is our hope. This is our aspiration, to please the pure devotee of the Lord. Okay, I'm going to finish there. Are there any questions? There's much to be said. Well, thank you all. I may be shortly, not immediately, but I may be ducking out, if you know what that means. Going under. Passing out, I don't know what you call it, whatever. going to sleep. Maybe easier to. Maybe. Let's see. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Now you have to translate this chapter into Tagalog right away. And we had to make a book and we have to distribute this chapter. The gopis glorifying Krishna's fruit. It's just the perfect subject matter for the local people here in the Philippines. Right? No. Unless you understand realize that you're not this body, unless you realize you're the eternal servant of the servant. This is not the subject matter that you can understand. Pardon?
Not yet.
Not yet, okay. Yeah. And even Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu would not discuss intimate subject matters even with his pure devotees followers. Only with one or two. Not with most. Kept things very simple. What they need to hear. In order to change, to evoke that attraction towards Krishna. When it's not there, it becomes misunderstood, and it can even become a detriment for one's spiritual, especially when we come to the rasa dance. Very dangerous. To hear that with mundane senses. Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Cannot understand it. Atakshi Krishna Namadi with mundane senses impossible. All glories to Srila Prabhupada. Thank you all. Hari Bol. Jai. Okay. Isn't it, if someone says it's prasadam time, even the most tired, mode of ignorance devotee wakes up. Hare Krishna.